everyone, and welcome back to my loyal subscribers, and a warm hello to all of our new viewers joining us today. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of our community. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. All right, guys, if you don't know who I am Dr. Jasmine. I'm a naturopathic doctor and nutritionist, and it's always my pleasure to share with you what I know and continue to learn about all things natural holistic health. So if you've been following these videos, you know that we are talking about that key root cause area of hair growth, which is metabolism. And we've really kind of talked about the thyroid and how that's your master gland for, regulating like how fast or slow your metabolism is actually going to happen. So today, I really want to dive into a key factor that oftentimes impacts individuals that have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And this compound is called oxalates. Okay, so if you have a thyroid condition, if you've seen an integrative practitioner, I'm assuming they probably brought up oxalates to you. If you have no clue what they are, no worries. I like to think myself kind of an expert on oxalates. I did a lot of work with a functional medicine laboratory that tested oxalates. And so my job was to not only interpret those results for practitioners and help them to understand what it meant, but also it was for me to learn and really understand the ins and outs of these compounds. Now, oxalates themselves are crystals. Okay, there's these little crystals with jagged edges that get produced in our body to help us excrete certain compounds. Because if they're not converted to oxalates, your body just can't get rid of it. It builds up, and that creates a whole nother problem. But oxalates are important because their crystal-like structure makes them very irritating. So the highest reported symptom, or the symptom they're most associated with, is actually pain. So if you have any like joint pain or headaches or stomach pain even that's unexplained otherwise, oxalates might be something to look into. Now, when it comes to our thyroid, it's important for two reasons. First reason is oxalates can actually decrease absorption of iodine. So even if you're eating enough iodine in your diet, if there's too many oxalates present, you might not be absorbing it at the rate that you need to actually make thyroid hormone. Remember, iodine is that key ingredient that makes it the hormone that we need, to live our lives. Oxalates, on the other hand, also can bind to the tissues, not bind, but build up in your thyroid tissue. So remember, the thyroid gland sits here. It can build up. So much so that even on like autopsy, post-mortem, they're found. Those crystals are literally found in thyroid tissue, right? It's crazy that they can build up to where, we can visualize them on an autopsy. But what happens is they actually start to bind to your thyroid hormone. And this basically reduces the activity and can lead to those hypothyroid type symptoms. So it's not necessarily that you're not making it, it's more that oxalates are binding it, right? And it's one of those things that if you're not looking for them, you probably don't even know that they're present, right? Or maybe you do look for them and they're not present. Okay, great. We know that's not the problem. That's one thing we can tick off our box. We can go in a different direction. So it's always great to test and understand what's going on for you specifically so that you can get down to the root and you're not just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? Now, how do we get oxalates, right? Like how do we even get these things to our bodies? Well, one way is from fungal overgrowth. Okay, now I'm starting with this one because I know a lot of you who know what oxalates are probably like, oh, it's the diet, which we'll talk about that. But I find most importantly, the underlying cause that needs to be addressed is the fungal growth in the gut. Okay, if you have organisms like Candida, which is a type of yeast, or molds like Aspergillus or Penicillium growing in your gut at a rate that they shouldn't be, they can actually increase oxalates. And molds have been shown in the research to actually like make these compounds themselves. But Candida is a special case because Candida is actually a normal kind of expected inhabitant of your gut at, modest levels. But when it has the opportunity, because it is an opportunistic organism, it will overgrow and it'll have a party in your gut. And if you have things like gas, bloating, if you have constipation, if you're fatigued, these are all signs that you might be dealing with a candida overgrowth. If you are craving sugar, I have people that are like, I go all day doing really good with my diet, and then after dinner, I have a box of donuts. I just can't help myself. And you find out that they have candida that's craving that sugar. But this guy is important because Candida actually has the ability to hijack your Krebs cycle. And if you remember kind of back when we talk about like B12, your Krebs cycle is required to help you make that large amount of ATP. So kind of the bare kind of nitty gritty of it, Krebs cycle creates a gradient that helps us to use the electron transport chain. These two kind of work together to help us pump out that 36 ATP, or $36, if you will, for energy production. So what Candida does is that actually when it overgrows, it hijacks an enzyme called isocitrate lyase. Well, it doesn't hijack the enzyme. It actually has this enzyme. So this enzyme is Candida specific. So we don't actually have that. Only Candida really has that. There's probably some other organisms that have it too. But for all intents and purposes now, this is not human. This is more Candida. And basically what it does is it takes the isocitrate, which is one of those compounds in that cycle that our body uses. It lyses it, or it cleaves it into two pieces. And one of those pieces is called glyoxalate. Now, glyoxalate, your body can't really do too much with. We can't process out glyoxalate itself, so we convert it to oxalates. Well, that sounds all good and dandy when you have a modest amount of candida, but when it overgrows, those oxalates build up and up and up, and then they start to store in our tissues because our body can't handle it. And that's when it starts to get into our muscles and our joints, in the cranial area. We have headaches, or even in our thyroid, right? So if you change your diet, which we'll talk about that's great. But if that's not the problem, then there's a lot of foods you're not going to be able to enjoy. And it's really a gut issue, right? Really addressing the gut with good antimicrobials and probiotics would be the way to go, rather than just changing your diet. Now, when it comes to your diet, it is a big piece. I have people that overdo things. I always say everything in moderation, right? Everything in the right dose can kill you. Even water, right? Water is so good for us. We're made up of a lot of water, but too much, you'll drown. So everything in moderation. When it comes to what foods you might want to limit or avoid in your diet, our top things are going to be beets. Spinach is actually number one. Nuts, so all kinds of nuts, almonds, peanuts, cashews, macadamia, all the nuts. Chocolates, yes, I know that one hurts. Limiting chocolate, and then soy products. Those are some of your tops, if you can limit those. And when I say limits, I mean if you're gonna have a green smoothie, maybe do a half a cup of spinach and cut it with kale or something. Berries are another one that are very high in oxalates. So instead of having a berry smoothie every single day, maybe twice a week. Kind of breaking that up, trying some other fruits and veggies instead to kind of give your body a break from some of those dietary oxalates. Now, other things that we can do to help reduce our exposure or our buildup of those oxalates, we can actually take B6. So you can talk with your doctor, or maybe do a complex or a multivitamin that has B6 in it. And that's important because B6 actually helps the body take that glyoxalate compound that we can turn into oxalates. It helps us actually to turn it to a safer byproduct called glycine, which is just a calming, relaxing amino acid. So it's actually kind of nice. So that's an option as well. And then with meals, it's really great to have those foods. So when you want to have that spinach salad, or you want to have those beets, or that chocolate, taking calcium and magnesium citrate with that meal does a great job at helping to reduce how much of the oxalate we bind. So it's actually kind of cool. If you've ever had a kidney stone, you've probably heard of like calcium oxalate kidney stones. And that's because what happens is you're eating oxalates, you're getting exposed, maybe it's in your gut or a combination of the two, and those oxalates get absorbed. When they're unbound to a mineral like calcium and magnesium, they get absorbed. And so in the body, they encounter calcium and they bind. And then over time, in your kidney, it builds up, it creates a stone. Well, same concept, but instead of allowing the oxalate to get absorbed, you take the cal back first, you eat. Now that calcium is in your gut. When you eat the oxalates, it gets bound. Once it's bound, it's stuck. It's stuck like glue. They become one and you can't absorb it. Like it can't get across the barrier when it's bound to calcium. It's pretty cool, right? So this could be something like if maybe you're at a party and all they have is oxalate foods, or you just want to indulge a little bit. This could be a great way to kind of help mitigate some of that exposure. And then, of course, treat the fungal overgrowth. Guys, if you have any type of GI symptoms or you're fatigued for no reason, you're taking supplements, you're changing your diet, you're still tired, it could be your gut. This is a sometimes overlooked piece that I see. Sometimes I'll have practitioners that come to me, they're like, I've tried everything with this person, I don't know what else to do. And we look at their, oxalates and fungal growth, and there it is. It's right there in our face. So yeah, if you do have a thyroid condition, or you're thinking maybe your thyroid might be an issue when it comes to your energy levels, your metabolism, and your hair growth, definitely think about reducing those oxalates and just seeing how you feel in the next few weeks. All right, guys, if you have a comment, if you have your favorite oxalates, or you're looking for more ways to reduce oxalates in your diet, definitely leave a comment. I love responding to you guys. And if you have a question that maybe you don't want to share here, that's perfectly fine. You can always email me at askdrjazz@gmail.com. And then if you would like to work with me, because I'd love to work with you, feel free to visit me and make your appointment at www.drjasmine.com. And that's all I've got for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, may God bless you and your health. Bye.